Hello everyone, good morning to all of you. As you know, today we are going to have the third session, session 3 for all anthropologists at one place, and today our time is slightly different. In today's class we will try to cover as much as we can, and then for the rest of the anthropologists, as I told you, this is the list for a few. As you know, today we are going. Okay, so for the rest of the anthropologists, I will be sharing the file, and as you know, you can download the file that the PDF that I'm using here. I'm going to share the annotated PDF, and you can download that PDF from the Sunya IAS Anthropology channel that is on the Telegram. Okay, now let's start. And excuse me for my bad throat, maybe. Fine, so we have covered with the, in the first session we have covered about the E.B. Taylor, the L.H. Morgan, James Fraser. In the second session we covered with the Edmund Leach, Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, Abraham Gardiner, and in today's session we'll try to cover all these anthropologists, and the rest of the anthropologists I will be sharing the file. PDF file, because you need everything at one place. You know so many things, so it's at this point of time it's important for you just to consolidate everything at one place. Fine. Okay, now let's start. As you know, this thing also I'm going to have a complete revision session for all the 5 parts of anthropology, for sociocultural anthropology, for archaeological, for physical, for Indian anthropology and tribal India. So I'm going to have the full-fledged revision classes. That's I'm not going to explain everything. As you know, this class is going to be for those who are aspiring for the mains 2025 and they want to revise it in a quick manner. So I will be sharing I'm going to held on the classes for that, and in those classes I will be providing you only the revision, quick revision, along with the current affairs related to the points, where you can mention some examples or something in terms of consolidation. So that we are going to have on alternative basis. So the first class for that is going to be on Thursday, and then quite possible maybe on Friday. So Thursday or Friday, that may be the first class, and then in the next week we are going to complete it, one class on Monday, then on Wednesday, then on Thursday, then on Saturday. So that's how we are going to have the next classes. Before that, if you have any doubt or you want to ask anything, you can. If you have any doubt or you want to ask anything related to your preparation or anything, you can ask. Okay, now let's start. Okay, so why I am showing you the picture, so that you can just remember or there is going to be a pictorial memory in your mind related to the basic anthropologist. Fine. So here we have the Ralph Linton. So Mr. Ralph Linton, he born in 1893, where in the USA. So from this point you can basically understand that he is he was an American anthropologist, and he died in 1953. Do you need to remember the date? No. But do you need to remember the timeline? Yes. So you need to understand that he got birth in the second half of the 19th century. Then he analyzed the cultural change, diffusion, acculturation resulting from the cultural contact. So if we have any question on the culture part, so for that what you need to do, you need you can mention about the Ralph Linton. So quite possible, sometimes some of the students, when they are coming with their test series, or when they have written their test, they are coming towards me for their when they are preparing for their mains. The most important doubt they are having is how to remember the anthropologists and how to quote them. And just to solve that purpose, I am having these classes, so that you will have everything at one place. Now let us suppose what you need to do. Just open the pages of the this one. Just open these pages of all the anthropologists. Once you have opened those pages, then what you need to do, just compare Which anthropologist said what for the culture? Fine. So you have compared that part. Which anthropologist said what for the culture? Then point it out, mark it out, that I will remember this thing related to culture for this anthropologist, and I will mention it. If there is any question on the culture, I will mention it. So again, for this file also, like I have shared 2 files earlier, and today I will share the third and the final file. So what you need to do, you need to combine all those files. You can just take print out of those. If not, then you can take it in your tab and then mark it. You don't need to remember everything that I am sharing. Again, what you need to do, you need to just mark it, like you will remember this thing related to culture from this anthropologist. So at least try to remember 2 to 3 aspects related to any anthropologist for culture only. This thing would help you to remember and quote the things as relevant. Like for example, students, they are preparing for the like they have given 3 mains, 4 mains, and still they are facing the issue like they are not able to remember. The only thing is consolidation. If the things are not at one place, they cannot be alive in your memory, alive in your brain. Fine? Okay. Fine. So this is what you need to do. Next part. Now, next thing is, it is saying that emphasize the importance of the historical and the situational context in the cultural change. Another thing Ralph Linton, he was saying is that we need to see the cultural change. If you are watching the kind of cultural change, you need to understand from one point of time, culture is changing towards the other. Now see, take the comparison of the India. In Indian context, we are having the culture evolutionism, like we have the Sanskrit language. Recently what happened is the Honorable Chief Minister of Delhi, Mrs. Rekha Gupta ji, she mentioned something about the coding. And in the coding, while contexting about the coding, she gave the reference of the Sanskrit language. She said that Sanskrit language could be used in the AI and the coding. So people were laughing upon her. But then after her statement, there was publishing of the previous article of one Western anthropologist or someone who gave some views like how Sanskrit, it must be used for the coding and it can make it easy, more easy. So we can consider that Indian culture, it is the ancient one, and it is continuation in the latest part also. This is one thing we can remember. But due to the colonization, so what we can understand, colonization, it impacted us in terms of diffusion. And when it impacted us in terms of the diffusion, then we can say that there is a cultural change. And this cultural change, it is somehow showing the historical as well as the situational context. So this is what it is showing. Fine. So next part, what we need to understand related to the Ralph Linton is about the publication, what he had given. So whenever you are mentioning something, like what I am basically doing, I am here giving the reference of the books also, so that you can be more specific while writing. So this is like today only you all need to do this promise to me that you are going to use this file judiciously. Like I have done so much hard work for this. I have clubbed everything together. Then I prepared this file, then I'm writing here, and then I'm providing this file to you. So it is somehow just to provide me the Guru Dakshina. It's your responsibility that you need to mark it up. Like everything you cannot remember. But what you need to do, you need to judiciously use the statements with the reference of the books, and you need to show it in your answer copy. So the most important thing is to replicate everything in your answer copy. This is what you need to do. Fine. Now let's see. The Ralph Linton, he had given the book The Study of Men. In this book, The Study of Men, he was making the core point, and the core point is about the cultural change. And when we are saying the cultural change, it is showing that culture is somehow humanity's primary adaptive mechanism. Now we know L.H. Morgan, he specified about the stages: savagery, barbarism and civilization. In those stages, we know that it is the civilization stage where culture started evolving. So we started calling us as civilized. Why? Because we started evolving the culture. So that's why we can say that culture is the humanity's primary adaptive mechanism. Now let's see. In the year 2024, there was one question related to attributes of culture, 10 marker question only. So in that question, there are some points, like you can write culture is universal, like you can write something about qualities. Here we can also write down that culture is having some learning adaptability, and in that point we can mention about the Ralph Linton. So UPSC is not going to give the marks if you are just referring the points and then simply writing about it. You need to give some specific context. Therefore, like if you are mentioning that Ralph Linton in his book The Study of Man said that culture is the humanity's primary adaptive mechanism, it means culture is something which is learned, and with the passage of the time, as soon as we are evolving, we can frame the culture more and more. This is what we can do. Fine. Okay, now next one, the individual and his society. This is the second book, or like he had written so many books, but here I am giving you the book which is providing you the most important context. Fine. So in this book, the individual and his society, he specified something which is very important. Now, as you know, earlier I talked about the about the Margaret Mead, about the Ruth Benedict, about the Abraham Gardiner. These three anthropologists. All these anthropologists, they were related to what? They were related to the culture personality school. So, I am just referring the fifth theory in the unit 6. So, the fifth theory in the unit 6, that is specifying about the analytical part about the psychology and about the human adaptability plus their personality. So Ralph Linton is one of them. He was also studying the human being from technical aspect while taking psychology and human psychology in the background. So for that, what he did, he provided some psychoanalysis. And this psychoanalysis, like you know, anthropology is study of the human being. So Ralph Linton in his book The Individual and His Society, he just want to show how individuals psychologically dependent upon society and how society is impacting them psychologically. Now see, let us suppose if you are not wearing the clothes that are, just tell me how you are wearing the, like when you are stepping out of your home, what kind of clothes you are wearing. You want to look good. As soon as you will step back to your home, you just want to be comfortable. So this is the main thing, means society somehow impacting our psychology. Why? Because according to us, when we are living in our own premises, we are not considering about look. But when we are coming into the public premises, we are we think that people will notice us and therefore we want to look good. So it is one of the aspect of the personality that is dependent upon the behavior and the analysis of the society, and that's what he did here. So in his book, he integrated the psychoanalysis with the anthropology, and this also became the basis for the culture personality school. Now next part, the culture background of the personality. So here he addressed how the status, the role, the social expectation, they contribute to the personality development. Now if you do remember, UPSC had asked the question in the year 2018, and afterward I also defined the status and role and distinguish between them. So it is basically part of the unit 2.2 society. Here if you will mention this thing, if you will mention that Ralph Linton in his book The Cultural Background of Personality, he mentioned about it. Now you would say, ma'am, how to remember so much? I mean, how we can remember every book, everything? Now see, what you need to do in your final revision, you just need to brush up yourself. Brush up in the sense that you need to know this is something that I want to mention. So let us suppose you are studying about the unit 2.2, you are revising the unit 2.2 status and role. There you can mention about this book and the mention about the Ralph Linton. That's why I had asked you to specify this file, because if you will have this file in a raw basis and you will try to just read it once, it won't help you. For writing, like for answer writing, you need to be very much specific. And when you are trying to be specific, it means you need to just declutter everything in your mind that this is something I will mention, I will definitely mention, and that's how you need to do. So therefore, the cultural background of personality, here you will mention addressed how the status, the role, the social expectation, they contribute to the personality development. I mean, how actually they are helping for the personality development. This is what we need to do. Fine. Okay, so this is something that we can just take up. So I'm giving now 30-second time, as you know. Like here I will be mentioning, you can add upon this in the unit 2.2, status and role. Fine. And here you can mention in the unit 2.1, culture is learned. Okay, this is what you can do. So have 30-second time, just read it once. And then we are going to proceed further with the next part. Okay, now let's have the basic part. Okay, so while mentioning about the culture, like if something related to the culture, what you need to do, you need to quote the book Study of Men. In the study of like in the book Study of Men, what he mentioned, you know, he mentioned that humanity's primary adaptive mechanism is nothing but it is the culture. Other than this, in this book he mentioned about two things. One, the culture pattern. Another thing about the individual behavior. So according to him, the culture pattern is somehow like influencing the individual behavior. So here he mentioned about culture pattern influenced the individual behavior. And this is something which is true as well. Why? Because culture pattern are something which is shared by the society. Individual behavior is something which is role specific. I mean, you have a basic behavior being part of the society, and that is showing like as a part of the society you will specify or behave differently, or as in the individual role you will behave differently. So this is what we have in terms of culture, and he mentioned this as one aspect of the psychology of the human being. And not only this, he did some field work in the Polynesia. In the Polynesia, Marquesans Indians or Marquesans, he studied about them, and when he was studying about them, he found that these people, they have so many different aspects of the of their life. They have different status, they have different role, they have a different aspect of the life. I mean, their material culture is leading towards the adaptation. Means if you have a material culture, for that material culture you will have the basic adaptation. So this is what he did. So now let's specify about it. Field study, Polynesia, and here he found that material culture impacting the human adaptation. This is what he said from his side. I mean, he said that it is somehow impacting their behavior as well as their view. Fine. Next thing he did in terms of society, he like for society, what he did, he specified from his side the social institutions, and in the social institutions he also specified about the status as well as the role. So he basically provided a status and role theory that pioneered by the Linton, and here he found that person, they could simultaneously hold so many status, and for the so many status they have different role, different expectation. Like let us suppose like for example, let us suppose your grandfather. So your grandfather is holding so many status. So he is the grandfather, he is maybe the priest, he is maybe the political leader. So he may hold all these three role at like when he is holding these status, he will be specifying different role of the personality. Like as your grandfather, this is the status of grandfather. So being a grandfather, he will have a protective and a caring and loving role for you. Then let us suppose he is one of the political leader as well. So when he is having the status of political leader, then for him you are going to be a neutral person, and he will provide, like he will specify a different role for that. Another thing, in terms of the priest, let us suppose he is the priest also. So being a priest, he will define different things accordingly. So as he is holding one status, he will define different role. Fine. So like in terms of society, what he did is he gave the status and role theory. In the status and role theory, he specified about social institution and a role. Fine. So when he was specifying about role, his field work in Polynesia. So when he was doing the field work in the Polynesia, there he found some of the personality aspects, like one person is specifying. So let us suppose one person, he said different status. What are those? Grandfather, priest, political leader, and because he is having different status aligned with different role. Fine. So this is something they have in terms of their role. Now Hanji, do you have any doubt? Are you able to understand everything? I hope like I have to write in a small writing because so many things need to be right on the board. I hope it is visible to you as well. Now see, next part in terms of the marriage. So like in terms of marriage, what he did, he conducted some field work in the Madagascar. As you know, Madagascar, it is one of the country in the region of the Africa. So in the region of the Africa, he basically found that marriage is nothing but it is a social institution, and this institution, it organized the property right, it leads to the child rearing as well as the social alliances. So he hadn't done something very different in terms of the marriage. So for the marriage, he only did one thing. In the Madagascar, studied about marriage and different aligned role. I mean, when you are getting married, So there are so many things which are being aligned together as a part of the marriage. Fine. Next part is in terms of the kinship. So in the kinship, like again when he went to the Polynesia, in the Polynesia he studied there the lineage based system, and he said that kinship is something which is determining the inheritance, it is determining the social obligation. Why? Because like for example, even if you are studying well or even if you are not studying well, still your parents, they cannot abandon you. Why? Because they are having some social role, and as a part of the society they have to take care of you. Why? Because they have the fear like what society will perceive about us if we would show the society that we are not living like a happy family. Fine. So in the same way he said that kinship determine inheritance and social obligations. Fine. Another thing related to the kinship only, he studied where he did the field work, where in the Polynesia. And when he was doing the field work in the Polynesia, he found that kinship is actually very important, because kinship is leading, like everything is revolving around the status and role. Because he did this kind of studies for so much of the details, he found that all these things leading towards the structure, and that structure for the society is specifying the role. So he mentioned that in the Polynesia region, their political aspect is based upon the kinship only. Means let us suppose you are the grandfather, means you are the eldest one, so you are going to hold on the power, and then you will transfer the power to your eldest one. So that's why he said that in the Polynesia, kinship is playing a very important role for lineage based kinship determinism. This is something being specified. Okay. Now let's talk about the next part. So in the next part, next one is specified in terms of religion. So again he did the field work in the Polynesia. So in the Polynesia itself, he documented how the myths, how the rituals, they reinforce the authority of the chief. Means if all the people they are believing in the myths, they will define the autonomy of the chief, and if not, they are not. Means just try to understand, the person who is there in your religion and the person who is being considered as the pioneer of your religion, you used to worship the same. So this is what you need to understand. It means, let us suppose I'm talking about the priest, you are a Hindu. So if you found any priest in front of you, you would like to greet him. Now let us suppose you are finding any another person from another religion, so like basically who's the pioneer of that religion, you won't feel the same feeling for the same. Therefore, according to him, he said that in the Polynesia he found that myth and ritual, they are the two things. The person who's believing in the myth and ritual, they will believe in the autonomy of the chief. Basically the chief who is being the pioneer of the religion, and if they are not believing, they like in the myth and ritual, they won't consider the autonomy of the chief as. Fine. So this is what they specified. So in the Polynesia, myths and rituals are something specifying the autonomy of chief. Fine. Now let's talk about something about the language. So according to him, language is the icon of your personality. What kind of language you are using is showing your personality. So he said that how in the folks Indian folkware linguistic expression, they are showing some moral lessons, and these are nothing but they are showing some social obligations. So here try to understand. When we are talking about the language, according to him, language is the expression, and he took the example of the folks Indian folklore. So he said that these folklores, they are showing the expressions. Expressions means how in the society the status and role should be defined. Now let's take the example. In India, the folklores, they are nothing but they are specifying any story, like any sort of story, any sort of like life story, life history, something like there are so many folklores on the Ramayana, on the Mahabharata, on even nowadays you know the movie like Narsimha. So there are so many mythological stories based folklores where people are singing the song while giving you the verdict about the way. Like as you know how in the Ramayana it has been mentioned that Love and Kush, they used to sing a song while showing how and in what way, what happened with their mother, what was the basic things, and that's why they are being noticed and taken to the court. So in the same way, folklores, they are based upon the mythological stories, and these stories, they are defining what? Nothing but the status and role. I mean, it is somehow the like language is expression of the culture. So here you can mention language is the expression of culture. So language is nothing but it is the expression of culture. If you are using the language, so you are basically expressing about the culture. And for that, example is folks Indian folklore, expressing about culture and status and role in society. Fine. So this is what being specified. Now next part is in terms of research method. As you know what he did from his own side the field study, where in the Polynesia, Marquesas and in the Madagascar. So these are the two regions where he did the field study. Now in the field study, what are the kind of thing he did? He did a he was not comparatively analyzing the others, but he was doing intensive field work where he was just trying to he was using the case study method just to take some inferences and then to specify the study. So here we can mention he did the field work along with the field work. He did something from his side in terms of case study. So he used the case study method. This is what he did from his side. I think you can understand it well. Now I'm giving you just 1 minute time. Just have the reading of this and just internalize what are the kind of thing you can remember and can mention in your notes. Now if you will ask me any suggestion, everything Ralph Linton said, where I can use this information? I can use this information first in the unit 2.5. In the unit 2.5 there are not so much reference of so many anthropologists. So if there is any question on the political organization or somewhere, and if I have to mention the lineage based organization, I will mention about the Ralph Linton, that what he studied in the Polynesia and how lineage based kinship determinism is helping him. Another thing where I can mention about the other part, I will be mentioning something about culture and society. So I will mark up like this I need to remember, this I need to remember, and this. All other things I will take one reading, not more than that. Fine. So that's how you need to use it. Okay, fine. So just take a reading out of it. And you done? Okay, now let's have the next anthropologist and their reference. So the next one is the Cora Dubois. Okay, so here as you can see, Cora Dubois. As I told you, the contribution of the women, so I have shown you the Ruth Benedict, the Margaret Mead, and now the Cora Dubois. And all the three, the Ruth Benedict, the Margaret Mead, the Cora Dubois, all the three, they are connected with the basic personality school. That is the personality, culture personality school. Fine. So Cora Dubois, she got birth in the 1903, where in the USA. That's how you can say she was an American anthropologist. And when I'm saying American anthropologist, so here you need to understand she was being mentored under the French bows. She was the immediate student of the A.L. Kroeber, as well as the Louis and the Robert Louis, who was being mentored under the French bows. So we can also say that she was being also trained under the French bows. Now, if you do remember, Abraham Gardiner, he gave the concept of basic personality school. Cora Dubois, she transformed that and she provided the model personality school. In the model personality school, she provided some basic insights that how the culture specific events, culture specific social gathering can impact the personality. Earlier she was not having the so much interest to give something about the personality, but later on when she studied the work of the Abraham Gardiner, the work of the Ruth Benedict, she started getting interest in the psychoanalytical approach, and therefore she also provided some basic details. She even gave her own model, that is the model personality school, instead of the basic personality school of Abraham Gardiner. Here she conducted some field work. Where? In the Bali, Indonesia. In the Bali, Indonesia, there is Alor Island, and she did extensive study in the Alor Island of Indonesia. Not only this, she also provided studies with the LCR tribe of the Aragon. This is the kind of work being done by her. When she was studying about the Alor Islander person, she was very much interested to provide so like refined study about the culture and personality. This is what she did from her side. Fine. Now let's see, like she had given so many books, but the most important book, like I'm not going to provide so much of the things to you, like going to be difficult for you to remember. Here I'm only providing the important one which you can mention anywhere. So related to her work, there is one book. The book name is The People of Alor. So the People of Alor, the Cora Dubois, where she did study in the Bali, Indonesia. So what she did in this particular book, she gave the reference of the ethnography. So here she integrated the ethnography with psychoanalytical theory. Before that we did the Ralph Linton, and for the Ralph Linton we did one point that he did psychoanalysis with anthropology, but she did something different. She was just having the excavation, she was trying to know the scientific study about their culture, and when she was doing that, she implemented the psychoanalytical approach so that we can get more better insights about it. Now, have another point. So here they analyze how the child rearing practices in the Allure, they shaped the model personality. And it is characterized by the feeling of dependency and insecurity. So according to her, when the people, they are rearing their child, so the way they are rearing their child, it is forming their personality. Let us suppose some parents, they are scolding their child. So the behavior of the child is going to be like, what if I'm doing something, so like someone is judging me. Like if the parents are not scolding, if they are appreciating at every single point, the child won't to do some experiment. They want to try, they don't have the fear to being failed. So this is the main difference she noticed in her study. When she was studying about the Allure of the Allure Islander person, she found that the people of the Allure Islander, some people, they are teaching their children some fishing technique, some difficult living conditions technique at the early age, and that's why those person, they are risk lover person. And she also found that there are so many social gathering happening. And when these social gatherings, they are happening, they are also providing some basic things where she can say that these people, they are refining their personality. So these are the kind of thing that we are noticing there, we are facing there. I hope you can understand from the study of the Cora Dubois in her book. Now she also provided here that in the national character study, if we have to study the national character study, there are some points which are very important. One is the social transformation, another one is the nationalism. Now see, one of the example I just want to provide, we can also give this example in the modern times related to India. Recently what happened is, as you know, USA specified a 25% tariff on Indian goods in terms of the export and import, and it is something considered by the USA like giving penalty to India. Now what is the attitude of the Indians toward that? The opposition again opposing the ruling party, and they are criticizing the ruling party because the Trump, basically the USA government, they gave penalty to us. Now there is a strong statement today itself given by the Ministry of External Affairs, where they are specifying and they are mentioning that USA is having fear from us, and that's why USA slapping this penalty upon us. Whereas the European countries, they are even engaged in the Russia more than India. They are having the import-export of goods and services more than India. So that's what the kind of statement Indian government did from their side. But it is showing the personality. Now Indian government in a strong position. That's how their political determinism is evident. Now because their political determinism is evident, on the another side, the opposition party, they are finding it a kind of opportunity where they can criticize the government by saying that it will raise the inflation and it will also impact the stock market. When they are saying that, in this point also it is showing the personality of opportunistic. So here you can see that there is a major difference at every single point of time. The kind of events, they are showing the determinism of the personality, and that's what we can also take out here. It means your personality is somehow dependent upon your upbringing. Now because like why I am saying so, Ministry of External Affairs, they are giving very strong verdict, independent strong verdict. Why? Because Indian government is providing them backing. What if they are like, if Indian government is not providing them backing, they must have fear. and that fear may lead to the kind of behavior where they will be having the fear from USA steps, these and that. I hope you can understand now the basic mechanism. Fine. Okay, now we are done with this part. Now let's move forward to the next part, where we have to determine about the different aspect of their personality and things. Now see, in terms of culture, how they are specifying about. So in terms of culture, we can say that in the book The People of Cora Dubois found that harsh child rearing practices, they resulted in a model personality, and this model personality is marked by insecurity, dependence and anxiety, the same that I said. That if you are being scolded by your parents, every single time you will have the fear to being judged in the outer premises also. But if your parents, they are appreciating you at each and every point, then you won't have the fear of being judged. You won't have the fear that you would get failed. So this is the main difference that we have. Fine. So in terms of culture, we can here mention that in the book The People of Cora, in the book The People of Cora, where she studied about or providing the model personality structure. Instead of the basic personality structure. And here she mentioned about the child rearing practices at Cora as parents who are scolding their children leads to generation of anxiety and fearful behavior. Fine. So this is what in terms of behavior is being happen in case of if they are showing some sort of anxiety and something. Fine. Next part is in terms of society. So society is nothing but it is organized framework. So they haven't provided something really about the society, so they gave something about the hierarchical social structure that is based upon the age and gender. So like Cora Dubois, she hadn't given anything about the society. According to them, society is a social structure based on age and gender. I mean, how we are specifying the structure of the society. This is what it is basically showing. Next part as being specified is in terms of the marriage. So according to them, marriage is nothing but marriage is a kind of system which is helping us to maintain the economic ties. Like it is somehow based upon the marital ties. Like when we are engaged with someone, so it is leading towards the engagement of the two families. So maybe two villages, maybe two different clan systems. So it's leading towards the marital ties, and this is what they said, that the personalities, it is dependent upon the kind of family to which you belong. So it's talking about the marital ties. Now next part is in terms of the kinship. So in terms of the kinship, how we are specifying that according to them, kinship ties, they were weak in the emotional support, and according to them it is contributing to the pattern of social isolation as well as insecurity. So according to them, kinship means inheritance, not like they haven't given so much specified. So kinship means inheritance, the same what the Ralph Linton said. So kinship determine inheritance. Only this. Now let's talk about the religion. So if in terms of the religion we have to specify, so the Cora Dubois, she saw religion as a secondary institution, and this institution is reflecting the emotional needs molded by the primary socialization. So according to them, the belief, the rituals, they are symbolically expressing something. Therefore here we can take up on this point that according, like, it's very important. What I would ask you related to the Cora Dubois, either remember what she said about culture or remember what she said about religion, because she said very beautiful thing about the religion, that according to her, religion, why people believing, because she is related to psychoanalytical approach. So she was saying that you are believing in the religion because you have a fear in your mind. So this fear in your mind is leading you so that you will be like you are going to have a full faith in the religion. So here you can mention about religion is the secondary institution. So religion is the secondary institution, result of fear. What is she said? She was saying that we used to have fear and we want to come out of that fear, and because of that we are having this religion. Religion is one of the medium to come out of the fear, and it is also as a result of the fear. Let us suppose now a ghost will come here. What we will do? We will just try to remember the God, because we feel that God is someone who would take care of us. Now let us suppose you have to go towards a very haunted area. So if you will go to any haunted area, what you will do? You will just think about of the God. So this is the only thing that you will do from your side. So this is what said about the religion. Now in terms of language, she said that language is nothing but it is a way that minimize the emotional display. According to them, this is the only thing. And in terms of research method, what she did, she used some ethnographic fieldwork with psychoanalytical method and some life history, participant observation, some cross-cultural comparison. This is what she said. So in terms of language, nothing much being said or specified by her, but in the terms of research method, she used the fieldwork method with psychoanalytical approach. Okay, along with the psychoanalytical approach, what she did is she did from her side the case study, like she used the case study method. She did some cross cultural comparison. And not only this, she used some ethnographic method from her side. She did some ethnographic method from her side, and this is the basic phenomena we have from this part. I hope you can understand what she did. Like now what you need to do, you don't need to remember the complete part. What you need to remember, you can remember the research part. Like if there is any question on the case study method, student used to feel, ma'am, what to write for the case study method? Like we are not having the words. What you can do, you can just take out something from there. You can mention about the examples. You can mention about the studies of the about these people. So you can mention about Cora Dubois, the people of the Allure, what she this studied about the people of Allure in terms of a case study method, where she analyzed about their societal structure, their marriage, kinship, how their personalities are impacted because of that. You can mention about it, so it will be filling up 3 to 4 lines. Not only this, you can mention about other case studies also. So it's not all about that you will mention only example, but you need to create a balance. If you are facing any, like in 2023, in 2024, UPSC gave very indirect questions. In 2024, the complete GS paper, complete Anthro paper 2, it was GS based. Now you need to act like that. You need to create a paper which is GS based, but also you need to create a paper which is Anthro specific as well. So for that, these kinds of things very important. Another thing you need to remember from this page, this something about the culture, what she said. Fine. So now I'm again giving you 1 minute time. Just read it out and then we are going to move forward. Are you done with the part? Okay, now let's move forward to the next part, that is Julian Steward. So if you are taking up the name of the Julian Steward, you need to understand the person who had given the culture ecology model. So Julian Steward, he took birth in 1902 where in the USA. So again, he was an American anthropologist. So when I'm saying American anthropologist, you need to understand he must be the student of the French Bauhaus. So he cannot be the direct student of the French Bauhaus. So he was the student of the A.L. Croyburn and Robert H. Louis. So these both were the student of the French Bauhaus. So he was also being impacted from the studies of the French Bauhaus. Another thing, earlier he was not very much keen to study about anthropology. He was taking up the science and agriculture stream. So he was studying that. But later on, when he came in contact with the university and the subject and the books, he found that this subject is having some naturalistic approach where he may get the views about the human life, as well as something, because he was taking earlier agriculture, so he was connected to the environment, so somewhere related to environment. This is what he did from his side. Therefore, he opted for anthropology. And when he opted for anthropology, he started getting more interest. He found that culture adaptation is somehow nothing but it is the ecological adaptation. He found that culture and ecology, they both are going hand in hand. And he even said that culture is being developed as we as a human being started adopting things from the environment. So your culture would flourish if you have personality that would adapt the things from environment. And that's why he gave the culture ecology model. Not only this, he also provided a very important phenomena, multilinear evolution. So earlier, as given by the E.B. Taylor, L.H. Morgan and James Fraser, they said that there is unilinear evolution. Unilinear evolution, it means there is going to be evolution in a one vertical line, and this is the only one vertical line, and there is a gradual change, some sort of progress, simple to complex society, homogeneity to heterogeneity, some sort of undifferentiated to differentiated, some sort of uncertainty to certainty. This is the only way we have. But Julian Steward, he gave the multilinear evolution theory, according to which different societies, they have different phenomena of their progress, and they are evolving their culture in different ways. Therefore, we are not having a single way, we have multiple ways. He conducted the field work where on the Native American groups of the Great Basin. In the Great Basin area he did. He was also the professor of anthropology, and he influenced the future anthropologists like Alman Service, the Sidney Minst and the Eric Wolf. So we are also going to study about Alman Service related to the culture materialism and all other. So this is what he did from his side. Fine. So this is the basic contribution of the Julian Steward. Now let's see the kind of books he had given. So the first book, as you can see, is the book Irrigation Civilization. As I told you earlier, he was keen to know something about science and agriculture. So then he shifted to the anthropology. So it is inevitable that he will have some impact of the agriculture or agri-based practices that are changing the human adaptation. So therefore he wrote the book Irrigation Civilization, a comparative study, somehow cross culture comparison. In this study he examined how the large scale irrigation system they influence the development of centralized political authority as well as the social stratification. So he just want to show that based upon your irrigation system, your political system will impact. Now see, we are possessing the technology, we are having our own pump, water pump, that are being specified on our land, and we are having electricity connected, so we can use it as we want to, and it is something based upon our own view, as we want to, like in what way we want to use it, we are using it. Fine. So this is what we have from our own side. Now what is happening, he said that this system in the earlier time period were dependent upon the basic irrigation, and when they were dependent upon the basic irrigation, it was basically showing that somehow environmental concern and somehow environmental management practices, they lead to the state formation. Means because you started depleting the water so much, now there is requirement of the interference of the political system. So according to this book, in terms of, if I have to summarize this book, what Julian Steward said, he said that just to avoid the environmental mismanagement, state exists. Very big statement I'm saying from the Julian Steward. He said that just to avoid the environmental mismanagement, state exists. If state won't be there, you will deplete the natural resources as much as you can. And he gave the reference of the Native American, and this is like we can justify the Native American and their relationship and their basic mechanism. Now next one we have Basin Plateau Aboriginal Socio-Political Group. So he analyzed with this book how the environmental constraints, like some sort of environmental things, aridity, resources, scarcity. He said that these things, they shape simple, flexible social organization. And his work, like when he did this work laid the foundation for culture ecology theory. Based upon this theory, he emphasized the adaptive relationship between the culture and the environment. And based upon this only, he said that culture and environment, they are connected with each other and they are dependent upon each other. This is what he said. Another book he gave is the theory of culture change. In this theory, he said that formulation of the concept of multilinear culture evolution. So he gave two important concepts. One was the culture ecology model through this book. So you need to remember the name of this book. I am creating a star here. Another is the theory of culture change. So you also need to remember this. Formulation of the concept of multilinear culture evolution, where he was arguing that societies, they evolve along the diverse path, and these diverse path, they are based upon specific environmental as well as some technological factor. This is what he said from his side. So if I have to summarize everything about his work, I can say that he created the relationship between three things: culture, environment and technology. This is what he said: culture, environment and technology. And with this thing, he gave the concept of multilinear culture evolution. And other than the multilinear culture evolution, he also specified about the irrigation, means agriculture aspect. So more or less he was just focusing upon the environment only. Fine. So now I am giving you 30-second time. Just have the reading of this page. Now we will be moving forward. Are you done? Okay, now let's have the basic aspect related to this part. Okay, as you know, where he did the field study? He did the field study Basin Plateau Aboriginal Socio-Political Group. Here he did the field study. So in the Basin Plateau Aboriginal Socio-Political Group, he studied about those people. In the Basin, like when he was studying about the Basin people, he said that culture is something which is learned. Not only this, he provided the culture ecology model. So when he was giving the culture ecology model, in this viewpoint, he basically provided the framework. In the framework, he provided us the part that how culture is specified as based upon the adaptability towards the environment. This is what he said from his side. And in terms of the reference, or in terms of the proof, he gave the reference of Basin people. He said these Basin people, they are living in a deserty area, and these people, they are hunter-gatherer. He said because this is a deserty area, therefore this is an area which is not having food and resources in abundance. He said that just to cope up with this situation, the people of the Great Basin, these hunter-gatherer, they developed very flexible, small-scale social structure so that they can cope up with the scarcity of resources. And this is what he specified, that culture is something which is learned, and culture is something which is based upon continuous process. This is what he said from his side, and accordingly we can also classify the thing related to the culture. So from this aspect we can say that his book, The Basin Plateau, okay, so in the book Basin Plateau, he mentioned about the culture ecology model, talking about adaptability, and when he was talking about adaptability, he was mentioning that how hunter-gatherer at Basin leads to adaptability to cope up scarcity. Okay, this is what he mentioned about this part. Now in terms of society, he provided the examples from the Mesopotamia, Egypt, where he mentioned that how intensive irrigation lead to centralized political control as well as stratified society. Why? Because just to have the water management, just to coordinate the water management, he had that. So to as you know, the book name is Irrigation Civilization. Mentioned about existence of social institutions to avoid mismanagement. just to avoid the mismanagement. This is what he did from his side. Now in terms of marriage, he said that marriage is something which is flexible, and marriage is like, he was basically studying about the deserty area, so he found that marriage here is based upon the low population density. So he hadn't said something very like in a very detailed manner about the marriage. The same is in terms of the kinship. He said that kinship is again flexible group. Why? Because he was studying about deserty area, so he mentioned that it is also like flexible and based on low population density. Okay, now let's talk about the religion part. What he said about the religion, he said that state religion is just to have the centralized control. I mean, according to him, everything, kinship, family, marriage, religion, everything that is happening is just to have the centralized control so that you can manage the environment. So religion is result of centralized control. This is what he said from his own side. Now let's talk about in terms of language. So he hadn't said something very great about the language. This is the only verdict that he said from his own side. Now in terms of the research method, what we can said in terms of the research method, he was having the field work, and his field work is based upon his mechanism of regional analysis, because he was having, like, he is the only one who have the regional analysis, because he was just trying to understand the environmental quotient of that area, where he took three things in the picture. One is the culture, another one is the environment, and another one is the technology. You know the basic concept, and I have explained the basic concept when I took the unit 6 theory part. Here I am only taking upon the research method. So here we can just mention that he had regional analysis as well as the field work. Fine, so this is what he did from his own side. So he did some interdisciplinary studies for the industrial economies, and he also wrote the book for the people of the Puerto Rico. So there also he gave the same result. So in the summarized manner, what we can say that, like, where you can mention about him, so you need to mention him for the society part and for this culture part, where I'm creating this star. And again, if you have to specify that how we can control the environment, how we can control the system, for that we need religion, we need political organization, and we need the marriage and family or kinship. So all these things, they are creating some sort of control. Fine. So this is done for today's part. Now I have shared the index. In the index there are some other anthropologists as well. For all those anthropologists, like, I have taught you how to consolidate everything. After that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same performa, and I will be sharing the file in the official Telegram channel of the Sunya IAS. From there you can take out the complete file. So let me show you. So here we have covered these. So now onward, like I would be sharing the file. Oh, okay, we have covered with the Julian Steward. So now onward, I would be sharing you the file with all these anthropologists, and then you can just scope up. I will be sharing the stars also. You can just add on the information in your notes. Fine. So thank you so much for today. As I told you that we are going to have a complete quick revision module classes, and that's going to be free. That's going to be an open session, and the first class we would maybe having on Thursday or Friday. I will notify you through the official channel of the Sunya IAS Telegram channel. So I will be sharing the details about the classes there. So like regarding the time as well, I would ask you to attend the class live, because we will be having the revision. And if in case you are giving mains and you are having any sort of issues, you can just